Good evening and welcome to Ladies Can We Talk. Sometimes when we get to this time on Sunday evening, when the show Ladies Can We Talk is once a week, Sunday evening from 6 to 8 p.m., so many things have happened during the previous week that I have to kind of, as I'm planning for the show, the detail about the show, I think, was that just this week? Because so many things happened that it's hard to believe that you're still in the same week. So this is one of those weeks. This is Debbie Georgatos. I love doing Ladies Can We Talk. I love the first hour, often with guests. I love having my leading lady buddies join me in the second hour. We have a great show lined up tonight. One of the big topics we will be talking about tonight will be this Convention of States project idea, and we'll be have an extended interview tonight with Senator Tom Coburn starting at 6:30, who is supporting this project, who is heading it up, or at least one of the leaders of it, and understand how he sees it. And I will tell you, because I've actually received emails from you, my listeners, saying, hey, wait a minute, a lot of conservatives don't support this, or some conservatives don't, and you should tell both sides. Well, I am going to do that. I reached out to someone today who is affiliated with or connected with Phyllis Schlafly and the Eagle Forum organization, and they have a person who's going to come on in next several weeks and talk about why they are not supporting this. So we are going to tell both sides, but it's a big issue and story to follow. And the big things that have happened this week that make it hard to decide which stories to cover in 2 hours. We had the State of the Union address, and then we had Governor Nikki Haley's response, the Republican response to the State of the Union, and then we had the GOP debates. We've had big news involving Iran, as I know you are all aware of. We're going to talk about what New York values are and a whole bunch of other great things on the show. I want to use this opening segment, which I refer to as my Speak Up for America segment. I want to talk a little bit about the controversy surrounding Nikki Haley's response to the State of the Union and what she said, in a veiled way about Donald Trump, and later acknowledged it was. And I'm just going to play a little bit from the debate, the GOP debate that was this past week, and an answer that Donald Trump gave. And here you go.
South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, in her response to the State of the Union address,
she looks great.
appeared to choose sides within the party, saying Republicans should resist, quote, the siren call of the angriest voices. She confirmed she was referring to you, among others. Was she out of line? And how would a President Trump unite the party?
Okay. First of all, Nikki this afternoon said I'm a friend of hers, actually a close friend. And wherever you're sitting, Nikki, I am a friend. We're friends. That's good. But she did say there was anger. And I could say, oh, I'm not angry. I'm very angry, because our country is being run horribly, and I will gladly accept the mantle of anger. Our military...
I'm going to cut it off there and say that's really one of the main points I want to dive into and talk about in this opening segment. We talk about the purpose, and this show, my entire show, Ladies Can We Talk, is all about the idea of trying to have all of us as Americans begin to treasure again, identify again, learn again, what is the unique American identity? Why is America so great? What makes it great? And how do we hold on to that greatness? And we can't hold on to it if we don't know what made it great to start with. Well, I will say that Donald Trump's response, saying essentially, yes, I am angry, is exactly the same response of the whatever percentage of voters it is he has supporting him in the GOP presidential primary. It's, often but up near 40%. I don't know what's at this week. The rolling national polls vary. But if you're not angry, you don't understand what America is. If you're not angry what's happening to this country, it's because you don't know what America's supposed to be. And so you're not that bothered by what has happened to our country since 2009, when President Barack Obama took over as our president, as our commander-in-chief, sort of commander-in-chief. He's not really that. But I say I want to talk about this idea that, and I'm going to give a little personal analogy. I will say one of my best friends in life was married to a guy, and she discovered not being faithful. So she confronted him, and she said, how could you do this? And so his answer was often, I can't talk to you if you're so angry. So he would say, we can't have a conversation because you're too angry. And she's saying, of course I'm angry. You are destroying our marriage. Well, this is kind of like, and I know it's a rough analogy, but it is the non-answer the American left gives all the time when we are pointing out all of the really terrible things that President Obama has done to this country in the last 7 years, and we try to point them out, and the left and their pals in the media say, why are you guys so angry? I don't know why you're angry. Why can't you just get along better? Come on, don't be angry. This is the problem, that we are not even having a conversation in America about substantive policy. We're having Republicans point out, and all of the Republican presidential candidates and many others pointing out, hey, we have a porous border is not even close enough to an accurate description. We have no southern border. We are bringing by the tens of thousands unvetted Muslim refugees from Syria and other countries who mean us harm. Some portion of them do. No one can say what portion that is, but we're bringing them in. Our economy is in a mess, and we have the president standing up, smiling in a State of the Union and telling America, man, things are just going great. Look how great our economy is. We got unemployment numbers down. And everyone out here in the real world, we know that people are not working, that the labor force participation rate is painfully low. Americans are not working. This happy talk about the economy, President Obama and the people in the media who just echo chamber everything he says, tells America everything's okay, and we're supposed to say, oh, okay, we'll salute and it's okay. So when people are angry, it is because they are tired of being lied to, tired of having our country run into the ground, tired of having a president who is not standing up for America's place in the world, a president who is allowing ISIS to expand and grow and run roughshod, who is not willing to identify the main enemy of the free world, which is radical Islamic terrorism. He's not even willing to identify it for what it is. Even when it happens in American soil, he can't tell the truth about it. So yes, there's pent-up frustration over many, many, many things. I could recount the idea that where our economy is, what the employment numbers are. I could recount the areas of government where people have the government has expanded, taken away our liberty, taken away our freedom, expanded the growth and power and strength of the federal government. We have the EPA out of control, trying to shut down industries. We have a Congress, even a majority Republican Congress, who sits there in Washington, watches President Obama run roughshod over the Constitution, run roughshod over the idea that there is a separation of powers, that he, the president, doesn't have any role to play in making laws. Congress, your elected officials, they make laws. The president's job is to be the executive branch, to enforce the laws. It is not to make them up. But Congress sits idly by as the president writes regulation after regulation relating to Obamacare, relating to expansion. He tweaks Obamacare to his pleasure, to reward his enemies, to get after those he doesn't like. He amends the federal immigration laws. He is allowing this massive influx of people, not just the Syrian Muslim refugees, but influx across the southern border. He is allowing the demise of this. He is committing the demise of this country. And Republicans in Washington occasionally wring their hands and say, gee, that's really bad, but no one's standing up. So yeah, that's why people are mad. And I want to say, the reason I wanted to have this segment is to say this. America was founded on political conversation. You're actually allowed to talk about the dangers of radical Islam. You're allowed to talk about immigration policy failing to support the idea of America. You're allowed to talk about the idea that immigration policy should actually, number one goal should be, if you want to become an American citizen, you must become an American. We're allowed to say America needs to reassert its place in the world. We are needed as a leader, a moral force in the world. We must have a newly re-energized, refunded, built-up military because we are only going to have peace when America is strong. And Americans know this, and they're watching the demise of this country. And to say that somehow when you're angry, you're not being patriotic, you're not participating, sorry, folks. No, what is needed, the actually informed people, it's kind of like back in the time of the founding of our country. People did not sit around talking about, what do you think about King George's latest imposition and whim and unfairness? Well, I don't know. people who had clarity, they had moral clarity, they had clarity of thought, they had a right idea about liberty and the rights of man, and they said, no, we are not just going to sit around and take what King George is doing to us. We're going to stand up. Well, that's where we are right now in this election. Now, I did not play Donald Trump's quote from that the debate this week, and particularly to support him, but to say this idea that it is divisive to be angry is absurd. And President Obama's, I'll just part with this when we've got to get to our break here, but in President Obama's State of the Union address, in the same address, he said in the beginning, one of his deepest regrets, where he called for an end to poisonous partisan politics. It has grown, and it was a regret of his presidency. But then he went right on within 3 breaths to slam Donald Trump several times, including the idea that Donald Trump's proposal for a temporary halt to Islamic immigration to America betrays who we are. Americans, this is why Donald Trump is popular, because he's saying what the vast majority of Americans are thinking. Stop bringing people here when we don't know whether they want to kill us. That's about it. Stop bringing people here if you can't assure us that they're not coming here to kill us. And then, so in the same speech where he says, we end this partisan rancor, he mocks people who challenge his climate change hoax that he's spending millions of your tax dollars on. So it was a speech where trying to sound like he's taking the high ground, President Obama taking the high ground and instantly mocking anyone who dares disagree with him. So if you're really, I do this show to speak up for America. If you want to be one of the people who speak up for America, it's okay that you're angry at what's happening to our country. In fact, if you're not angry, you're really not tuned in. So on the show tonight, we're going to race through and, you can hear I talk a little bit fast. I grew up in New York, so I have an excuse. I talk fast, but I want to have time tonight to talk about, this is, in fact, some of this concern about America is underlying the effort to push toward a convention of states, to do something about the runaway federal government growth of power, of scope of its power, depth of its power, just pure size. We're going to talk about what people are doing to get this country back, to fight back for this country. We're going to talk about the GOP debate. We're talking about what's happening with Hillary Clinton. There's a whole lot coming up. So I so appreciate your tuning in to Ladies Can We Talk, and I hope you'll stay tuned in this very, very brief break and come back. Don't go away. And after this break, we'll come back. We'll talk about the GOP debate this week. I have a couple of things I want to share with you about that. So come back to Ladies Can We Talk after this break. And this is Debbie Georgatos and Ladies Can We Talk.